I've been itching to do another top 10 list lately, and I uploaded one to my account, but due to copyright issues, it had to be taken down. So this list, I'm only going to be allowed to show pictures, but I will talk in full length about what I'm about to talk about. Now, like I said, I've been itching to do another top 10 list, but I wanted to do something that would appeal to a general audience. And I figured since my top 10 scariest animated Disney scenes list has been doing so well, I figured I'd do another Disney list, but this time it's about my personal favorite movies versus the ones that I consider are either bad or I just flat out hate. And I'm going to do them both side by side so I can do a little compare and contrast. Alright, so with that said, this is the best of the best and the worst of the worst personal favorite hated Disney movies. Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. There are certain parts of Fantasia 2000 that I actually do like The Pines of Rome and Rhapsody in Blue. But with that said, why do they have to have celebrity appearances? I mean, that almost practically kills the film for me. Fantasia, on the other hand, an animated masterpiece as far as music goes. I'm a really big music person myself. I mean, you can just tell. But it is some of the greatest music that has ever been made, and the imagery just complements the whole thing, and it's just a brilliant picture. Fantasia 2000 did try to recapture that, but again, the celebrities just did not work to its advantage. Alright, that's all I've got to say on number 10, so let's move on to number 9. The Rescuers Down Under and Saludos Amigos. Don't get me wrong, there are parts of Saludos Amigos that I really enjoy, but as a movie on its own, it really just feels more like a travelogue than anything. The Rescuers Down Under, on the other hand, that actually feels more like a movie. In fact, the first time I watched it, I didn't even know it was a Disney film until somebody came along and told me. Because I didn't watch the opening credits, I only got to the part where he falls into the poster trap. But with that said, I really think that The Rescuers Down Under is a very, very underrated movie because not many people know about it, and it's a great film. It's got good action, it's got a great villain, the characters are interesting, and I don't know what I can say about it. It's you just have to check it out. Saludos amigos, if you want to educate yourself, fine, but if you want nice, wholesome family entertainment, The Rescuers Down Under is definitely a pick for you. Dumbo and Lady and the Tramp. I'm sure almost everybody who's seen Dumbo can identify a lot with the character. Not the fact that you were either born late or the fact that you were made fun of because of big ears, but I can say it was probably because at one point in your life you probably were made fun of for something. And everybody around you just laughed it off and they just didn't feel bad for what you were going through. That is Dumbo to me. Dumbo was the character who all this bad stuff is happening to him, and yet the rest of the world, it just seems like they don't care. But yet he has one friend who is constantly telling him that he is going to make it to the top, and he sticks with him all the way through, just absolute perseverance. That that kind of camaraderie really touches me. Speaking of camaraderie, I wish I got more of that from Lady and the Tramp because this movie's story is basically just a very generic love story, but with dogs. And I'm not really much of a dog person anyway. So don't be disappointed, but 101 Dalmatians is nowhere on this list for that exact reason. The Jungle Book and Oliver and Company. The Jungle Book was a really big favorite of mine when I was younger. I mean, think about it. All the characters were really interesting to me. All the songs were great. The Bare Necessities, I Want to Be Like You, Trust in Me, and especially That's What Friends Are For, because I am totally obsessed with Barbershop. And The Jungle Book even though the story wasn't really that great and it was actually kind of predictable, to me it was always engaging because of the characters. And that's where Oliver and Company really didn't hit its mark. Like the only character I thought was interesting was Dodger, and let's be honest, it's Billy Joel. And Billy Joel is the man. But that's it. All I saw apart from the Billy Joel character was basically just a rehashed version of the Oliver story. Um, yeah, that's really not anything new, and doing it with animals really didn't make sense. Especially not making it in New York City. That really didn't make sense. So, The Jungle Book, while it has some of Disney's finest, Oliver and Company is just a very bland movie. It's just kind of forgettable. It's just no, it's not kind of forgettable. It is totally forgettable. But I guess Billy Joel is the only redeeming factor here, but that's just from my standpoint. I don't know about the general public. Hercules and The Black Cauldron. Yeah, I know both of these movies are really bad, but here's the thing. When you put them side by side, it is obvious, painfully obvious, which one is the better movie. Hercules. Because even though it's an attempted retelling of history, it actually leaves an impact with an audience. I've watched The Black Cauldron 7 or 8 times, and I do not remember a single detail. Not one. Nope. Just did not leave that much of an impact. So really, The Black Cauldron, considered the black sheep of the Disney franchise, is really just being guilty of nothing more than a bad movie that just is totally forgettable and doesn't leave an impact. Hercules, let's be honest, it is a bad movie, but it is a really big guilty pleasure of mine. Alice in Wonderland and The Rescuers. Neither one of these movies made very much sense to me, but here's the thing. With Alice in Wonderland, that was actually kind of the point. Wonderland is just what it sounds like. Wonderland, a fantasy world where nothing makes sense. With the Rescue Aid Society and the Rescuers, little mice that go to help people. Just rolls right off your tongue. The Lion King and Cinderella. Both of these movies have really screwed up morals to teach you, if you know what I'm talking about. Check the link in the description if you don't believe me. I don't have a problem with The Lion King, but I have every manner of problems in the world with Cinderella. First off, Rodgers and Hammerstein's craft does not need to be messed with in any way. I know this is trying to be a fairy tale, this is trying to be, the back to the roots, the stuff that Disney is best known for, but for me it just does not work. I mean, the Rodgers and Hammerstein version is the only version that I know. And watching this, while it is watching a different movie, in the same way, it was also like watching a completely different story, just with different elements thrown in. And I'm sorry, I can't get invested in a story that I already know and then just have all this other stuff added to the story that just makes it more complex. It's really distracting. And like I said, the the original source material does not need to be tampered with, but hey, The Lion King did that. They took Shakespeare's Hamlet and they made it their own creation with, African animals. But that worked somehow because it was a fascinating story. They actually had interesting characters and it was truly memorable. Don't get me wrong, Cinderella is memorable too, but it's not up to par with the original Rodgers and Hammerstein version. And I am not talking about the live action version with Brandy, Whitney Houston, Jason Alexander, Whoopi Goldberg, and Bernadette Peters. No, 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 no. I am talking about the original stage musical. If you get a chance to see it, go see it. because that is just a timeless story and it does not need to be messed with in this way. The Lion King, sure, it's taken one of the most adult plays of all time, but you know what? Highest grossing 2D animated film ever. And you know what? That's good enough for me. Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas. There's literally nothing I can say about Beauty and the Beast that hasn't been said already. But I can say this about Pocahontas. It's disappointing. It's very disappointing, beyond insulting, and I just really feel unclean as I'm watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, there's no way this can be American history. No, 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 no. That's just no, no way. Just no way. It just blows my mind. So I'm thinking to myself as every single time I watch this movie, either this is just trying to appeal to young kids or it's trying to, give a giant middle finger to our history. I don't appreciate that. If we're going to make a film that is based on American history, please, please make it accurate so it'll educate a younger generation. The Hunchback of Notre Dame and The Aristocats. Both of these films are total opposites. There's nothing I enjoy more than a movie that can really suck me in with, you know, big imagery and impressive music and even at times one of the scariest things in all of Disney history. With that said, The Hunchback of Notre Dame is definitely the darkest Disney film out there, and it has a really, really big edge to it, and it constantly pushes the envelope. Every single time I watch it, I see something new. I find another dark element in it. It's always fascinating to watch, and I want to watch it over and over and over again so I can find new things, tiny little subtle things. Whether it's like the architecture of Notre Dame, uh, something I see in the Court of Miracles, also another very scary scene I might add. And there's just endless possibilities to the fascination that this movie brings me. Again, with that said, the Aristocats. You heard me sigh before I say the name because I do not like this movie even a little. The first time I watched it, I gathered everything. I saw from beginning to end just, some really dumb story and then, really, really bland characters and really there's nothing good that really sticks out about this movie to me. It is I don't even remember any of the characters' names. That is how forgettable it is. Like literally I'm making this video just after I've watched a large majority of these videos and this was in there somewhere. But it didn't do anything for me and it scored pretty high on this list due to such a little due to such a little impact that it had. But The Hunchback of Notre Dame, on the other hand, holy smokes, that one just blew me right out of the water. Even the first time I watched it when I was like 8, 9 years old, I wasn't allowed to watch this movie when I was about 6 or 7. And I think my parents had the right mindset to do that. But with that said, both of these movies, as I said before, are total opposites, and it's blatantly obvious as to why. Now, you all might or might not be surprised by my number one picks for my best and worst Disney movie. And Ellen, if you're watching this, I have no regrets about my number one worst movie at all, and nothing you can say will change my mind. That said, here they are: Aladdin and The Little Mermaid. Aladdin is my favorite Disney movie because the main characters are so likable, the villain is memorable, the story is unique, the songs are fantastic, And of course, it has Robin Williams in probably one of his less annoying roles. But my biggest thing with Aladdin is this. While it is true that Jasmine is a princess, every girl I've talked to pegs this as a princess movie. I would like to point out that it is not. It is not, just because she's a princess does not automatically make this film a princess movie. When I think of that term princess movie, I think more along the terms of Snow White and Cinderella. This movie is actually more like a very well put together love story. And that's really fascinating considering I usually cannot stand princess movies or love stories. Another thing I love about Aladdin is the message. Be yourself. Don't be someone you aren't just to get your way, which is a great lesson to teach. The Little Mermaid, on the other hand, I'm sorry, but I'm about to rip this movie a new one. First of all, the main character, Ariel, she is a pain in the ass. She does nothing but complain, obsesses over a man she doesn't know, and I cannot cut any slack for a character who just obviously does not listen to anybody. But she makes a deal with the villain to be to be with a man she knows nothing about. I mean, this character is really screwed up. I mean, the prince also is blatant would not make a good husband, and that is blatantly obvious. But for that matter, the main reason they get together is because of the screwed up thought process of the main character. I mean, really, did anyone look over this script? She doesn't even go through any kind of metamorphosis that improves her understanding that actions have consequences. And the only redeeming factor in this movie is the villain, Ursula, and that's just because her song is so damn memorable. But I'm sorry, just having one song isn't enough to save this movie. It's flawed, it's clumsy, and I still don't know how people like it. I just don't get behind these people. I cannot understand how they can like such a flawed character. I can't understand how they like such a screwed up moral. I don't understand how this is considered a good Disney film. For me, it is the worst of the worst, and I just flat out hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Hate it. And that's all I have for this rant. And I hope I don't expect anybody to necessarily agree with this list, but I do hope that you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching, and of course, I'll see you next time.